Hello and welcome to episode 50 of Touchline Talk with Odds Changer and SPK. I'm delighted to be joined by the one and only Dean Jones to discuss all the latest news and gossip from the world of football. It's been another eventful weekend, Dean. Ole Gunnar was trending again, as seemingly happens when Manchester United suffer a defeat. Big week ahead also for Solskjær this week. Champions League against Atalanta and then a big Premier League clash against arch rivals Liverpool. What's your latest take on what's going on at Manchester United? The United board are saying they're keeping faith with Solskjær, but surely that patience has got to run out at some point.
I mean, you'd think so, but there are absolutely no signs of it. Checking this out, since the weekend, again yesterday, just making sure with sources like, is he definitely staying? There's unequivocal support for Ole Gunnar Solskjær right now. It's absolutely extraordinary the backing he is getting from the Man United board over the vision, I guess, that he's got to lead this side to silverware, to glory. He's obviously very, very good at convincing people behind the scenes that he's on track to get the club to where they want to be. And there must be goings on behind closed doors that we can't see out here in the general public because, the message is that Ole Gunnar Solskjær is as safe as he's ever been. Let's see if that changes. I always said at the start of the season, like, if they don't qualify for the knockouts after having such an easy, really, Champions League group, then questions have to be asked, even of himself. He has to be questioning himself if he can't get out of that Champions League group with his squad. But yeah, look, even if they lose to Atalanta, I don't think the board are going to make a knee-jerk reaction. And at the moment, Ole Gunnar Solskjær is as safe as anybody else in the Premier League.
Which is crazy. Obviously, all the United fans are losing faith pretty quickly in Solskjær as well. So if he's not to blame, Dean, who is to blame? Some interesting comments from Paul Pogba after that defeat to Leicester saying something needs to change. So they need to change something. Was that a little dig at Solskjær or is that something else?
I mean, I think there were briefings immediately after that from the club to say he's not talking about the manager. He's not talking about that. And Solskjær even said in his himself after the game, there's something that has to change, a version of that sentence anyway. And what is this something? If it's not Solskjær, what is the something? I mean, he's got a collection of players that are, their performances individually aren't bad, particularly. Even in that Leicester game, there were some positives to take out of it if you go through and pick on individuals. But there are also some bad ones and some key players as well. When Maguire, Fernandes, Ronaldo and Sancho aren't having good days, then you're in big trouble. And I think that Solskjær not being able to get this team to play as a team is a major problem. And, you come up against a Leicester team like that who really are a team, and Rodgers has kind of got that ingrained in them. You start to think, look, Leicester and Man United have been pretty similar the last few years. Maybe Leicester end up getting the edge on them, just because they have this togetherness in them. Yep. United are built on moments. We know that, these big name players that produce moments of brilliance and their counter-attacking is great. They've got Ronaldo who eat up chances, but it's not enough. It's not enough when you want to be at the very top. And if it's not Solskjær's fault, then I don't know whose it is. I mean, everybody has to take some blame, I guess. But ultimately, it is the manager who always gets the flack in these situations. And we'll see, like maybe Old Trafford turns on him soon, because there was certainly some discontent in the away section at Leicester.
Yeah, I think, as you said, some fans are starting to lose patience with Solskjær. They've obviously stuck behind him because of his United connections. So if it's not Solskjær and it's not the players underperforming, it's hard to pinpoint what's going wrong at Manchester United. The balance of the squad just doesn't look right as well. Huge set of fixtures coming up. You obviously mentioned Atalanta midweek, Liverpool in the Premier League. Then there's also the derby against Manchester City, Chelsea, Arsenal and Spurs also to come as well. If United aren't in a good position after those, Dean, you'd think his position is going to be untenable, really.
Yeah, I mean, what you would have to say in his defence, though, is that he'll probably win one of these games. Whenever Solskjær has needed a big result, he's got one. And, if he goes and beats Liverpool at home at the weekend, he's definitely going nowhere. And you look at it and you're like, oh, there's no way United are going to get through this spell. Liverpool, Tottenham and Man City in the Premier League and two big Champions League games. But he probably will. Like what we've just been saying there about big players that produce big moments, one of them will produce something over those course of games and they'll get something. and it'll probably be big. You know, if they lost all 5 of those games, then yeah, I mean, we'll be really looking at a crisis. And if he managed to get his way through that, then he's there forever, to be honest. But I think the next win is pretty much the biggest of his Man United career so far, because it buys him even more time in this job. I know he's signed a 3-year contract. You know, that's a big statement from the United board. There's changes going on behind the scenes. Obviously, Ed Woodward steps aside soon. United don't want to sack him. They don't want to have to deal with finding a new manager. And to be honest, there's only 2 people that they would even consider bringing into this job right now. Antonio Conte and Zinedine Zidane, I'm told, are the only 2 people out there right now that are out of work and considered to even be close to the kind of level that they would be recruiting at. But the big flaw that both have is they've got no attachment at all to Man United. Yeah. And the big thing that Solskjaer's got on his side is that he's Man United through and through. And that seems to hold so much weight with the current ownership and the board. It's got him this far, and I think it'll keep him there a while.
Yeah, but you do say, we talk about Conte and Zidane, both proven winners. Zidane's Champions League regular winner with Real Madrid. Conte, wherever he's been a success. He's won the title at Chelsea, at Inter Milan as well, at Juventus, where he started out as well. So if United do finally part ways with Solskjaer, one of those 2, as you said, are only options available to them, both out of work. Do you think both of them could succeed at Old Trafford?
I have my doubts about Zidane. I really do. I think that we haven't seen him. You know, obviously at Real Madrid, he had great success most of the time. But that's his club. That's a totally different thing to going to a club where you don't know it at all, inside or outside. Conte, we've seen that he can go into clubs short term and have a big impact. I'm told, like from somebody that spoke to Conte very recently, that he's certainly interested in the idea and would love the chance to just pitch to the United board about how he would transform this team and how he would turn them into winners. But at the moment, there's no signs he's going to get the chance to make that pitch. Out of the 2, yeah, I personally would go for Conte. Outside of that, I really don't think there's any contenders. I know Brendan Rodgers is often thrown into the frame. Look, he's still regarded as Liverpool. He's
ex-Liverpool. He's going to get it, is he? So
I can't see it at all, no.
No, he's done a great job at Leicester, but yeah, I don't think any possibility of him going into Old Trafford to become the next Manchester United manager. Obviously, with Zidane, we've had rumours of that Paul Pogba has recommended him to United officials. Cristiano Ronaldo's recommended Zidane to be the right man to replace Solskjaer. Obviously, we know Ronaldo carries so much weight at United right now, so that might give him a big chance if Solskjaer does go, that Zinedine Zidane could take over at Old Trafford.
Yeah, I mean, look, I take stories like with a pinch of salt. I find it hard to imagine Ronaldo going into someone saying, I've got a recommendation for somebody who could do a better job than the guy that's picking the team at the moment, and it's Zidane. But maybe, obviously Zidane, the fact that he's managed Ronaldo before is a big plus, and he knows how to get goals out of him. But if you're a manager at any level of football and you can't get goals out of Cristiano Ronaldo, then you shouldn't be in the job. But obviously, yeah, like Pogba's situation is something that needs to be sorted out as well. As part of his consideration over what he does over his next contract, he wants to know who the next manager is. And at the moment, he's being told that's Solskjær. That's probably not convincing him to stay. Whether he likes him or not as a guy, that doesn't really matter. He's got personal ambitions he wants to fulfill before the time, he's into his 30s. So it's a big decision for him, and no real surprise that he would consider going elsewhere if United's situation remains as it is.
Yeah, big few weeks ahead for Ole Gunnar Solskjær, Manchester United, and I'm sure this story's not going to go away. He's just always one win away from saving his job, and also one defeat away from losing his job. So it's a continual story for Manchester United and Solskjær, with the Ole out trending again last weekend, and I'm sure we'll probably see that before the next few weeks, that'll be trending again the way football is these days. Another team that's going to be dominating the headlines over the next few weeks and months is Newcastle United. We're expecting them to be busy in the January transfer window, Dean. Probably not the big name signings that have been mooted due to the new investment that's come from the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund, but they've obviously been linked with a host of names, Newcastle. But realistically, who do you think should be at their top targets to try and steer them clear of relegation?
Well, at this moment, I think they need to be just looking around the Premier League for players that are attainable and could raise the level of that team. And I mean, James Tarkovsky is somebody that they are clearly interested in. And I think he's had his eye on a move away from Burnley for a year or so now if the right opportunity came along. And I think this might be a good platform for him. He might see it as that way. Obviously, short term, it's going to be difficult and there won't be much glory involved. But if you're one of the first men aboard the new ship, then there's potentially a very fun journey ahead for you. So I think Tarkovsky would be interested and be a good signing. And beyond that, I mean, I think you have to look at people like Jesse Lingard, Dele Alli, James Maddison, these type of players that are exciting, that are looking to, I guess, revamp their own careers and their own profiles. And you've already seen like flashes of what these guys can do when you show them love and you show them that the team's working around them for them. That's what Newcastle really could do with now, you know, that blend of top quality talent, but also personality. I think they would get that out of some of those players. So personally, I think that's where they'll be looking. They'll also try and get a striker as well. And that could be from far and wide, you know. They'll just look for somebody. Joelinton clearly isn't going to be the guy that guarantees their Premier League status. So I think that one will come down to who's available on a loan deal pretty much. But yeah, I would be looking at them signing Premier League talent that's kind of on the fringes of their current squad.
Yeah, probably more attainable, some of those signings as well. You mentioned Tarkovsky out of contract at the end of the season at Burnley, so Burnley might decide to cash in on him in January rather than let him run down his contract. Also, same situation for Jesse Lingard, who's coming to the end of his contract at Manchester United. They might decide to sell him to get some funds in for him rather than seeing him leave on a free transfer. It's quite interesting seeing on social media Lingard's representatives putting it out there that they're at St James's Park on Sunday at that game, which just to get the old rumour mill going as well on that one. Yeah, I think probably Newcastle, I know Jamie Carragher was saying they probably need a whole new defence in January if they are to stay up. But on the flip side of that, I know they've got the money now, Newcastle, but who wants to join a club in a relegation battle in January? It's not going to be easy to get your top targets.
No, absolutely that. And so that's why you got to be looking at these guys who are in difficult contract situations, or I say easy contract situations to be resolved. Give them a proposition they can't turn down. Yeah, because you're going to find it hard to sign somebody who's already got 2 or 3 years left on their current deal and already at a big club and telling them that you're going to be a big club, because at the moment there's no signs of Newcastle actually having success, and you're just really taking a punt at this point.
Yeah, I think Newcastle fans might have to hold that excitement for a while about the big name signings that might be arriving at St James's Park following the influx of money from Saudi Arabia into the club, because right now the ambition should be to get players in to improve the squad in the short term and make sure they do not suffer relegation from the Premier League. Another player who's probably going to be the focus of attention in the January transfer window is Antonio Rüdiger at Chelsea. He's yet to sign a new contract. There's been a few deals on the table for Rudiger, but it seems he's rejected the latest one. And again, he is also out of contract at the end of the season and could sign a pre-contract in January with interested foreign clubs. And he's not short of admirers, Dean. He's got the likes of Real Madrid, PSG, Bayern Munich, Barcelona, who would all be interested in signing the German international. What's your latest take on the contract situation with Rudiger? Is it looking more likely that he could leave Chelsea?
It's much more likely at this stage that he does leave Chelsea, yeah. Look, he's keeping his options open. He knows that he's played so well in recent times that a lot of big clubs are going to have their eye on him. He also knows that Thomas Tuchel is urging the board to get his situation sorted because he views him as such an important player in this squad. But ultimately, we're approaching a time now in January when he's free to talk to other clubs. And I think that he's going to take that opportunity for his representatives to do that. From what I'm told, they've heard that PSG will at least want to have a conversation. So I think he wants to know what they're thinking. He's obviously been linked with other clubs as well. And Chelsea's problem really is that if they are going to keep Rudiger, then he's got to become one of their highest paid players. He believes that the performances that he's produced and the kind of character that he's become within the side means that he should be considered as valuable as Lukaku, Timo Werner, the guys that this team is going to be built around in the coming years. So we'll see what how that's resolved. I mean, over the next couple of months, obviously, there's not much that can happen. But Rudiger staying at Chelsea beyond this season is far from guaranteed.
Yeah, how big a blow would that be for Chelsea and Thomas Tuchel, as you said? Since Tuchel has arrived, Rudiger's won his place back in the side after finding himself out of favour when Frank Lampard was manager. Key man in that Champions League success last season, and so far this season, when fit, he's probably been one of the best defenders in the Premier League as well for Chelsea. So if they were to lose him on a free transfer next summer, that's a big hole to fill for Chelsea. Who also, you've got the likes of Thiago Silva, who can't go on forever. He's getting older and older. So could be a few defensive issues for Chelsea. And to replace somebody like Rudiger is not going to be cheap.
No, and they saw this coming. That was the reason they were in for Jules Koundé and tried to get that deal done last summer. That wasn't necessarily because they were worried about this season. It was more that they wanted to be well prepared and well stacked for any issues that would arise this season. We've already seen that they're having to call upon players in defence that none of us would have expected to be featuring this early into a Premier League season, if at all. So I think that they're a bit disappointed that deal didn't get over the line because it would have solved a lot of issues for them. But yeah, that was partly the reason. They know that Rudiger and Christensen had negotiations to be had. Christensen will stay, but Rudiger, they still don't know.
Yeah, talk is that Rudiger is demanding around £400,000 a week to sign a new deal at Chelsea. That's looking unlikely that Chelsea will go to those lengths.
I think that's slightly exaggerated, but it is an advance of 300 from what I understand.
Yeah, big money. But on his day, Rudiger, definitely among the best defenders in the world. And I'm sure if he doesn't sign that new contract at Chelsea, he will have lots of takers for him either in January or the summer for that. Sticking with Chelsea, former Chelsea boss Claudio Ranieri, should he be fearing the axe already at Watford, Dean, after his disastrous debut at the weekend? Got off to the worst possible start after that abject 5-0 defeat to Liverpool for Watford last weekend. He's been given the task of keeping Watford up, but we know the Watford board don't have a lot of patience. So many managers have come through the revolving doors at Vicarage Road over the years. You got to fear for Watford after that performance. I'm not even sure Ranieri can keep them up. They've got 7 points so far from 7 games. I can't see where they're going to get another 7 points right now. So big job for Ranieri, and you'd expect he will be looking to be busy in that January transfer window as well.
No, I'm a Fulham fan, so I've had first-hand experience of Ranieri helping to take down a team, and I couldn't believe that Watford had given him this job based on how badly things went for him at Fulham. I know he's been away and done okay since then, but I'm very surprised that they've gone down this route. They're not in the relegation zone just yet, but they've got a difficult run of matches coming up. I think they've got a spell where they play Arsenal, Man United and Man City.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, the next 7 games, Everton, Southampton, Arsenal, Man United, Leicester, Chelsea, and Man City. I can't see them getting a point. So
it's hard to see. I mean, this season's been pretty mad in terms of results, and there's been some surprises thrown up all over the place. So they'll probably surprise us on one of those games and beat Man City or something. But overall, that's not how that's not a way to keep yourselves above water, to be honest. Like, a shock result isn't going to be enough. They've got to find consistency, and it's difficult to see that. It really is. I mean, this is a side that, they've got some very, very talented players, but there are very, very few signs to suggest that they will have what it takes to not fall into that drop zone, that they're at least going to be hovering just above it and fighting to stay out of it. So I think Ranieri's really got his work cut out there, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if they go down.
Yeah, and as I said, they sacked Cisco Munez after 7 games this season with 7 points on the board. Looking at those next 7 games for Ranieri, if they don't get many points there, he's got to be probably facing the sack himself. And we know what the Pozzo family are like. Got rid of 13 managers since they bought the club in 2012. You wouldn't be surprised, Dean, at all if they did see Ranieri leave, even before Christmas at this rate.
No, not at all. And, the thing with Watford as well is that even when they play well, they shoot themselves in the foot and they concede silly goals. That's been one of the big problems they've had this season. Silly mistakes inside the box, bad luck at times, conceding from set pieces. They're all traits that you would associate with a team that's in big trouble. And, bringing in a new manager to try and fix that this early on, I understand why they might think that's going to work, but I can also see plenty of reasons why it won't.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult one for Claudio Ranieri to try and turn things around at Watford right now. But on the flip side for Watford as well, they see a potential relegation rival in Newcastle, who are probably going to change manager and going to change their squad in January. So it just increases the competition for trying to stay up. So
Yeah,
it's an
true.
even doubly hard job for Claudio Ranieri and Watford. You'd expect them to be busy in January, maybe along with Newcastle?
Yeah, I mean, you just don't know what kind of players they're going to try and sign, though, because there's, they sign good players, but they're not also always got that experience of that you would need necessarily. Like you say, they're going to have to compete with Leeds, with Newcastle for signings. I would imagine those two clubs will be looking at very similar players to Watford in terms of what's needed to stay above there. And I think that one of those three, I think, will go down with Burnley and Norwich. Personally, I do think that that's the big scrap that we've got on our hands. And with Newcastle spending power, Leeds have got Bielsa's, now. I don't think it's looking good for Watford.
Yeah, calling it early there, Dean. You picked your
Here we go, 8
relegation
games
thing
into the
there.
season.
Exactly. Burnley, Norwich, and Watford. You're doomed, I'm afraid to say. It's come from the man himself. But now, as you said, it's going to be difficult for Watford, who I thought made a decent start under Cisco this season, and then they've gone and replaced him with Claudio Ranieri. But unfortunately, it's looking like it could be a relegation dogfight for Ranieri and Watford for the rest of the season. Right, that's us here for another week on Touchline Talk. We'll be back next week to discuss all the latest news and gossip and have a more debate on probably what's going on all around the world of football. Get £20 in risk-free bets this season when you join SBK. That's money back in cash on the first £20 of losses. Definitely worth a go.